So today is Saraswati Puja. So I'll just let a little bit of that run since I do every religion. Perhaps I should do Hindu Dharma as well occasionally.
Shri Hri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Hri Saraswatyai Namaha.
Simon Kitchen is 32. He met me through Amar Mirza. Tell me more.
Thanks, Doc. And I just want to say hi to all of your listeners out there who are tuning in. Thank you very much for coming in and listening to our show this morning. I met Doc through Amar, who's one of the kind of local business champions in the area.
And who does radio shows on Friday between, I think, 9 and 11. Yeah.
And the reason why I met him was because I'm actually running for Parliament for the Conservative Party in the West End of Newcastle. And I wanted to talk to some local business leaders to find out about what I could do to try and help them improve the local economy of the area.
So you're a kid, though. You're only 32.
I don't feel I'm a kid, 32.
You're less than half my age,
Oh, man. I didn't know you were going to come out with these questions. Ambush me.
Yeah. No. I'm so happy to see someone young and dynamic who's not born in a dynastic family. I come from India where until the 16th of May last year, when Narendra Modi came into politics, I don't talk about India all the time, but he was not from the Gandhi family or Nehru family or Brahmin or Italian even, and he's come into power. You're a bit like that, isn't it? You're not from a conservative, rich, posh, down south background.
No,
this is how people perceive you. I don't. I mean, this is how people would think, saying, what's he doing? He doesn't even have a Daimler car, doesn't have a double barrel name, hasn't gone to Eton.
Well, I went to Heaton Manor. So I like to think it's a fantastic school as well.
So Heaton replaces Eton.
I hope so, yeah. I think we need to have more Heaton Manor people in Parliament.
Just on that score, would you believe it? A Bengali Muslim boy, Bengali Muslim from Bangladesh, not Indian Bengali. He started dreaming of making a movie at the age of 6. At the age of 25, he went to London. He's a chemist. He worked in his father's regular Bengali takeaway in Chi Onwurah. He has produced a 2-hour, 5-minute movie, which I shall run in the background. So you should meet him and he should meet you. Shakirul Alam. Shakirul. Shakirul Alam. He's very popular. So Heaton Manor, 3 cheers.
3 cheers to Heaton Manor.
Yes. So who were your best teachers? Who did you like the most?
I'd probably say my history teachers.
What's the names?
It was Mr. Bell was one, and I've completely forgotten the name of the second one.
The other one's history now.
Yeah, they're all old history. I don't remember the names, but I remember what they taught me and the values and so forth.
But you enjoyed history.
I loved it, yeah.
Is that how you're directed towards the work that you want to do? Because you can see a continuity in human beings.
It gives you a sense of perspective. And
yes.
I love stories, and
yes.
I love the way that things change and how some things change as well. I remain the same, and a lot of common values kind of percolate throughout the generations and through time.
So you have seen things from a distance. Because that's what history teaches you, is perspective.
It gives you a sense of perspective, and also a lot of people's politics that are around nowadays tend to come from very narrow views of history and a very, very limited understanding. And if you have a broader view, then you can actually have a more kind of enlightened understanding of the way of the world.
I mean, the BBC is doing a Winston Churchill thing at the moment.
Yeah.
He was a great orator, but he wasn't a perfect human being.
No.
His wife wasn't always happy. He went through bouts of depression. He said things about India and about Jews and about all kinds of people that we don't want to repeat. But, there is a sense in media to kill people for small mistakes. I mean, if you're a great guy, but maybe once you slipped up, like you didn't pay your parking fine, that'll be flagged up, And it's very unforgiving media. The media is very unforgiving and very unkind.
I completely agree. And I've certainly found by being involved in politics, and I would probably say this for all the people who are running for the other parties as well, you feel incredibly exposed.
Yes.
You could say anything. And a lot of times when you're talking amongst your friends, you will not talk about things in a very literal sense, and you'll be provocative and you'll say things to get a response.
I do a lot of provocative because I want people to come out with their true feelings. I do a lot of humor so people speak the truth. Otherwise, it's all pretendy, and boring and deathly and killing. So you say things to tease things out of people, isn't it?
Yes, but when you're involved in politics and you put yourself up for election, you can't. It's difficult. You can't.
You can't be yourself.
You are yourself.
Yes,
but you need to be so careful about what you say, because you need to say exactly what you mean, which is the most important
and it'll
thing.
be taken out of context.
Exactly.
And the words have no meaning out of context.
Yeah. So some people, for example, will, like a politician might repeat back a question that someone's asked them, and then people will tape down what they've actually said as being what is their actual quote, which is not actually what they believe. They've just been.
That's an answer to that question.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of editing, and I can take the same 2 hours and turn you into a monster or a god. You know, but selectively.
Yeah.
So, but we do that all the time in life. We selectively listen to people. You know, if I saw you as a white kind of Christian kind of guy from Heaton Manor, then I have got you boxed. I can't see the full spectrum of you.
Yeah.
Because I've clipped your wings in my eyes and I've boxed you in. And I think that's not... Okay, tell us about yourself. I'll shut up. I'll just listen to you.
Well, I grew up in Heaton. I went to Chillingham Road Primary School.
I've been there. I've done music there.
Which is a really good primary school. Hopefully it'll
7th Street or something?
I think it's
6th, 7th.
9th Avenue around that area.
Why are they got all these funny names like in America? 9th, 6th. Sounds like New York, you know.
Well, it was, I guess Newcastle for a bit was a boom town, wasn't it? So a lot of the streets went up really quickly, and they didn't have a lot of time to name the streets, did they? So they ran out of names, so they started just going for numbers, didn't they?
Okay, they didn't have Bobby Robson, Bobby Thompson, those kind of names coming up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay.
So they got a bit lazy, presumably. So so grew up in Heaton on Rothbury Terrace, and then went to Heaton Manor School. Got a really close connection with the West End of Newcastle. And my dad, I know you said we're not from political dynasties, but I think it's really important thinking about your parents and what they've done and what you can learn from them. And my dad, he was originally from Yorkshire, but he moved up here after university to be involved in the regeneration of the West End of the city.
Right. So your dad is very involved, and that's what inspires you as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I would. He's a huge inspiration to me.
So how is he involved in the regeneration? In what capacity?
Well, I don't know whether you remember it, but there was all around the West End of Newcastle, around Arthur's Hill, where you've got a lot of the new builds from the 70s. There used to be big rows of terraced houses, which used to go all the way down.
I came in 78, so I wouldn't know.
It was probably just before that, and a lot of the housing was a pretty low standards. People didn't have any gardens. They had outside toilets.
Oh, right, like South Shields, Billy Elliot kind of scene.
I would say perhaps even worse than that.
Worse than Billy Elliot.
Worse than Billy Elliot. Yeah.
So pre-BE. Okay.
They didn't have any inside toilets or bathrooms, it was pretty awful housing.
So you haven't seen that with your own eyes, really?
No, I haven't seen that.
But your dad definitely has, and
he has seen that. Yes. Okay. I mean, I feel really lucky that I've not had to see that.
Yeah. But you feel lucky that your dad made a change for that.
He made a difference, yeah. And the council wanted to knock down a lot of the houses to build better houses. But obviously, a lot of these communities are grown up over a long period of time.
Yes.
And neighbours knew each other. They were looking out for each other.
Yeah. Your bricks and mortar make a house, but neighbours make it, friends make it a home.
So he wanted to make sure when they were rebuilding a new estate that these local residents can move into, that they had a say in what it looked like. And that
obviously, so you're changing my home to my home. Why shouldn't I have a say? Obviously, yeah.
In too many circumstances, back in the 60s and 70s, and knocked down a lot of houses. And I'm sorry to say that it still happens to an extent nowadays. And
but it's for the residents, by the residents, of the residents. It should be heavy. I mean, it's a democracy, for God's sake.
Yes.
Shouldn't we involve the residents?
Of course they should involve them.
Of course we should, definitely. Yeah. You know, the biker wall in which I worked as a GP from Heaton Road.
Yeah.
They're happy there, you know. There's no piddle on the lifts.
Yes.
There's no violence. And there's a lot of people who've come from black countries, from Iran. And there isn't that much violence there. It's a very poor part. There's hardly any cars, and there were hardly any foreigners there. And now they are, and there's just no problem. Why? Because the community feels secure. If the community was somewhere like Blakelaw, where there's a lot of poverty and I mean emotional poverty and kind of racism, it wouldn't be quite the same as Biker. Biker is lovely. I mean, the wall looks not very English, but the people are happy in it there. I've been there. I've done night calls, day calls as a GP. I was GP for a year in 2 stints. I know them well. I've been to St. Lawrence Square and seen what your dad must have seen.
He focuses on the West End, but yeah, I know he does a lot of work in the, he does a lot of work in the East End as well still. So.
Your dad's around?
Yeah, he's still around.
When
yeah.
could we speak to your dad, man?
I could try and get my dad in. He'd be furious with me though. He's a dyed-in-the-wool lefty, so if he knew I was on here talking about him, he'd be very angry.
He's dyed-in-the-wool lefty, so he's a Billy Elliot fan.
I think it's Billy Elliot's too right-wing for him.
Well, he can forgive you if Billy Elliot's dad could forgive him for wearing what do you call those funny things that ballet dancers wear?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah,
Tutu.
I should say that to him. I said, Dad, you wanted me to be the kind of equivalent of a boxer during the Labour Party? I'm wearing a tutu.
Tutu, wear a tutu.
Instead, yeah.
not two. Okay, so but your dad is welcome. I mean, I welcome. I want the EDL to come and talk to me. I have no problem with anyone. I've got Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, all sorts of people come here.
I'll try and get him to come on, actually.
He'd be absolutely loved.
He doesn't get up before 1 o'clock, though. That's
okay. I'll do my show from 2 till 4 if he wants. Okay. No, but you're talking about regeneration of the West End.
Yes.
So what's... okay, your dad did that. Okay. Mum, what's mum's job, interest, hobby?
She's retired now and she does art. So she's looking for an exhibition on down at the Westgate Art Centre down the road. So,
how can we not have her here?
Oh, she's looking after my gran, unfortunately.
No, but we need to promote her work.
We will do, yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Your mum and dad both are welcome. Any grannies, aunties, children, grandchildren, anyone's welcome.
Yes.
Because, I believe in the community. If it's a community radio station, it has to be community. You can't say, I'll tell you what to say, I'll tell you what to do. It is a community radio station. It should be people coming in.
Yes.
What I found when I came in, there weren't any white faces here. And I said, we do live in England, There's only 9% or 7.9% Asians in the West, in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And I think children are hardly represented here. Women are scarce here. A lot of communities just don't come here. And I don't see why we should not encourage every one of them. So through Amar and the business thing, that's one organization. I do that. Not everyone does that. Everyone sticks to their own little segment. And that's what creates tension. I like working across the board. Next Saturday, we got Babar. He's doing a Naat show. Naat means a prayer, as we would call prayer, but Muslims call it a Naat. And he sings absolutely, absolutely beautifully. So I'm going to do a prep and put it on air. But we've got so much talent here, But there's business talent, political talent, artistic show, anything. Newcastle is full of it,
Why, man.
I've been ruined from 1978,
Yeah.
I'm what is called a Bruin Geordie.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think
Newcastle is special, isn't it?
It's a very special city. It's a charismatic city. I mean, people love living here and they have such a sense of pride. And, I want to have people of all different faiths and different perspectives living here. And I want us to have
harmony and love and enjoyment, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you want the people to be achieving. I want the best Muslims in the world to be living here. I want the best Christians.
Amar Mirza has been put up for the most promoting British Muslim or something. On 27th, there's a show, and I hope he wins.
Yeah.
We had a show, and a chap called Minu Malhotra, he got the best prize for the young entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Pramila Sehgal, a woman, businesswoman.
Yeah.
She was voted the best businesswoman of the year in the North.
Yeah.
And a Hindu woman. Amar Mirza is Muslim. So, people work. Amar Mirza is only 41, 42, commander. So there is something special about Newcastle. All the different communities are fine in Bradford and Manchester, but they don't mix. I went to Bradford the other day, and the Hindus are happy, the Muslims are happy, and never the twain shall meet. There's no interaction. And they're very polite to each other. But there's no mixing. Let's have a mix. Let's have a bit anger, a bit, when different plates, tectonic plates collide. There's always a bit friction,
Yeah, that's where the term polite comes from. It's about polishing.
I see.
Came from the Enlightenment. So
the word polite means polishing.
Yeah, people think that the tensions that we have today are something which is new, and they're not. People have always had to rub along against each other, and sometimes people have disagreed. But
they create more. When there's friction, there's new sparks flying, new ideas.
And that's what the idea from the term polite comes from the term polished. So you rub two objects together which are rough, and they come together, and then they
Wow,
become polished, and that's where you
wow.
become polite.
In Mahabharata, which is 4,000 years old, or 3,000 years old only, sorry, 3,000, they said when there's lots of vessels in a family, they bump into each other and make a lot of
Yeah.
noise. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, there's lots of arguments in my family. I can tell you about it. So it's a
Well, Koplowitz was the head of the Jews, my partner, and he said 9 Jews, 10 arguments. That's coming from the head. But the argument is fine, isn't it? That's where you learn who you are.
exactly.
I
yeah.
only learn who I am by coming outside of India.
Yes.
If I stayed in India, was a nice, regular, married, fat, podgy, cigarette smoking, bald doctor,
Yeah.
mixing only with Hindus and castes, and I'd be dead by now. You know what I mean? By being
I'd say you're a slim guy. I wouldn't say that.
no, but had I been in India, I would
Yeah.
have eaten, I would have had a nice wife feeding
Yeah.
me and stuffing me full of calories. But because I'm not in India, I'm discovering who I am.
Mm.
I mean, everyone goes on a pilgrimage,
Hmm.
but the pilgrimage isn't a place. I believe pilgrimage is into your own spirit.
Hmm.
So by coming outside here, I realize who I am, or who I was, or who I can be.
Mm.
But if you've been abroad,
Yeah, I've done a fair bit of traveling.
where all have you been?
So I've been around to Ukraine, which obviously is in the news a lot at the moment. It's very sad.
What took you to Ukraine?
One of my close friends was getting married over there, so he married a Ukrainian woman. So we went to a big wedding in Donetsk, which is the eastern part of the country, which is having a lot of problems at the moment, and went down to Crimea and all around and to Odessa, and then up to the.
So all these
Carpathians.
places of friction attract you?
Well, they weren't so bad when I went there. It was,
No, but they attract you in the sense that you want to know for yourself.
I didn't want to go to somewhere where it was very kind of culturally safe. I like to feel challenged.
Yes.
And learn about myself.
Well, I went to Palestine for that
Yes.
very reason. I could have gone to India with 800 pounds. I could have sat in Goa and sipped coconut juice and got bored and died. But I'd rather go to Palestine and see what is the friction between the Jews and the Muslims,
Mm.
or the Arabs and the Israelis. It doesn't matter what name you call it, it's the same thing. So a bit like you, I also like to go to see what the human condition is about.
Mm. No, and it's sometimes when you challenge in that way, it's something as you said, you learn about yourself, don't you? And
How do I react in these places?
Yeah, and it can help you kind of reassure you in terms of what your values are as well. So I mean, I've done traveling a bit around the Middle East as well. I started off in Istanbul, then went down to Syria back in before all the problems started. And that
But the whole Arab world was Syria once, wasn't it?
I don't know about all the history, but it was
I
Syria
believe
was
the
the
whole
center
place.
of it. Yeah.
Syria was the center and still has that cultural center.
Mm.
Sadly, the way people are being butchered and killed, it's very, very sad. But a cultural center being turned into a turmoil is quite sad. Culture is a higher being, and drowning it in religion and blood. That's what we are seeing happening in Syria, isn't it? It's quite pathetic. I mean, they're cultured people. They're nice people. I know some Jordanians here in Newcastle. Fab people. I mean, I can't fault them for being Arabs, you know. But Saudi is a different kind of Arab. How Arabia is being ruled at the minute. So your interest always has been to see how humans behave, isn't it? En masse. And that perhaps is what takes you into politics, I guess.
It does, yeah. A lot of politics is campaigning, especially during this period, and you have to knock on a lot of doors. So I've booked off a lot of annual leave in my own personal time to go and speak to people in
leave from what? What do you do work-wise?
I work at the basically the Alzheimer's Society, but I run a social action movement called the Dementia Action Alliance.
Dementia Action Alliance.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So I sign up organisations to help people with dementia. Many of your listeners will probably have someone close to them who's
My
living
father
dementia.
died of severe dementia. My father was a bright spark, far cleverer than me. And he died of dementia quite sadly in Biker Lodge. He died in the Avia, but he was in Biker Lodge, which is a dementia place. So I'm happy to do a whole show on dementia because there's a lot of it happening in the Asians.
Yeah.
Due to stress, due to poor nutrition, due to diabetes, due to all kinds of things. It's catching up fast. The Asians are catching up really fast in all the disease fields.
And I think as well, I mean, I've done some work with communities, Asian communities living with dementia, and you find a lot of the the kind of mainstream services, for want of a better word, like your usual care homes, your hospitals, they tend to assume that the Asian communities will look after their own, and that they will their families will be able to be the one to provide care for them.
Yeah, but we live in Britain. We all have
Exactly.
jobs. We're all busy. We all get married, and all our daughters-in-law don't necessarily get on with their fathers-in-law, and etc., etc. So all the issues. Once you come here, I want to say this loud and clear to the Asians or any other diaspora: you will become like here. For a while, you can pretend you speak only in Hindi or Urdu or Punjabi and wear only Indian clothes and sport a beard, become Muslims. That will last for a while. But ultimately, if you want to be happy, you have to take a large part of this life as well. I mean, I'm very clear on that. And if you don't, you'll be miserable. You live in that little cocoons, watch only your own religious channel, go to your own religious place, meet your own religious people, do this, do that. But you'll die miserable and get ill. So, I mean, I think England is a open field. It's 400 years of democracy and 50 years of women voting. And I don't think we Asians take in enough. We expect everything to fit around. I mean, I'm saying it, you don't have to say it. And I've seen it, and it's quite sad that this country offers so much. I see, however, there's a change. I see firemen. There's my best Pakistani friend is a fireman. And there are Asians who are going into ambulance, into police, into army. The Hindu temple priest I used to know, Krishna Kant, he is a chaplain for this country for Hindus, Buddhists and Sikhs. So, you know, there's enough people there to need a chaplain. But we have to be in everything. In that we can't just run corner shops. You know, and it's okay to as a starting. We can't just have takeaways. There's more to Britain than those things, you know. So life is changing, I think, quite a little bit for us. And how do we accept change? How do you think we can accept change? Actually, it's time for a break. Let me play a break and then we'll talk.
From oldie goldies to the latest hits, from discussions and chat.
This is music from Teen Tal, a movie that's going to be launched in March, on 9th or something of March. Hi, welcome back. You were saying about care in the community, about dementia.
Yeah, with a lot of Asian communities in the UK, a lot of people came over in the 60s and the 70s, and they will have been kind of young men and women, and they will never have seen their grandparents grow old. So it's like a grandparent.
So they don't have that
generation.
sense of oldness.
Exactly, and so that's why I think for a lot of communities, dementia is quite difficult to kind of understand and to come to terms with. So we certainly at the Alzheimer's Society, where I'm based, have done a lot of work around.
Where is that based?
We work all across the country. So we've got services in.
So that's your regular job.
So I'm based at the Alzheimer's Society. My job's about running the dementia action lines, but my colleagues at the Alzheimer's Society,
they're all welcome, because it's a major problem, particularly for the Asians in the West End. And you talk about general what happens in the ordinary community, but I'll also talk what's an extra dimension for the Asians. I mean, apart from it being a very person-centered thing and so on. Tell me about dementia.
So, Doc, you were saying around trying to go beyond people's kind of backgrounds and thinking more about them as being people.
So, we're talking about dementia. So, how do you promote the work that you do?
So, we get organisations to sign up to commit to actions, because a lot of people know that dementia is important. They're anxious about it. A lot of organisations like care homes and hospitals want to make sure they're doing right by people with dementia. So do you
visit homes and make them aware that you exist?
A lot of them sign up. A lot of the care homes will have big chains, so we'll talk to the people who run those chains.
I could link you with Gainford Group.
Okay.
The Gainford Group has 1,200 employees.
Yeah.
So it will be nice to get you to meet them. Khalik, who's my friend, his wife runs the outfit. They're a very big chain of very large number of employees. And I suppose by getting you linked, you'll also link into the people who are employees themselves.
Yeah.
And they'll have relatives. It's not just the people who are in hospitals or in homes. People who are walking on the street may have mild forms of dementia.
There's a lot more people than you'd think. And often once someone gets a diagnosis, people will often, they'll get ostracized, which is really, really sad, because people just don't understand what it is. It's not that people don't want to help their friends, but it's just that they're just awkward. So that's why we're doing a lot of awareness raising.
Well, I am a doctor. My father I love, and yet I just couldn't tolerate his behavior. I'm asking him to get shoes, he'll bring gloves. I'm asking him to put the keys somewhere, he takes something else. He had forgetfulness of names, and he was a very bright spark, very brave on the ball. And as a relative, as a son, I feel ashamed, degraded, upset, harassed, and all those feelings. And he started throwing cups of tea, hot cups of tea, at the woman who was serving him. I just got so angry and asked the lady. I said, "Don't you get upset?" She said, "No, pet. I've done this for 25 years. Like, you know what I mean." So by doing some work, you get accustomed. It's like working in a prison or working on the street. You become that. Okay. So in the Asians, it's even more because we have greater stress levels. We have more diabetes. So we are acquiring all the Western disease quite rapidly. We came here for the money, and we got all the diseases. You know, so
You can't catch dementia though, so you can't.
No, in the sense that, but the pressure of
Yeah.
life is very severe here compared to back home. There's more structure there. For the Asian, if you're a grandfather, you have a status, you have a position. Here, you have to still be looking for status. You know, you retire here, you're nobody.
And Doc, because you moved to this country,
Yeah,
what's been your experience of being an immigrant in Britain?
I've never felt like an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to start with, I had American. I went to a Catholic school,
Yeah.
so that's a little bit. But I was a rebel.
Mm.
I used to fight against them all the time. I saw white people because they were all American Jesuits.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to white faces. I don't get shocked. Christianity, I knew a lot of. Well, you don't need that to be in Britain.
Yeah.
Not that many people are seriously Christian. So I had all those, and yet it was difficult. I mean, people drove on the left side of the road, but they never pressed their horn. The cars had single drivers. In Delhi, you know, on a scooter, there'll be 7 people. So I'm used to that concept. But for me, life was very easy actually being in Britain in the sense that I don't need to dress like a Hindu. So it doesn't show. I just dress like anybody else. On special occasions, I do. But I don't stick out like a sore thumb. Despite being Asian, apart from the brown skin, I don't wear a turban. I don't have a beard. I don't do any religion. I do, but I don't tell anyone. I don't have to. So that also goes a long way. Then also, my isolation was working in hospitals. Because if you work in a hospital, you're stuck with nurses and doctors. You never see real people. And then you're a bit out of touch. It's only when I became a GP trainee, when I got onto the scheme. I could have become a GP by licking someone's boots, Dr. Raj or Dr. Khan or one of these old timers. I thought, no, I'll just go through the system. So there was a vocational training scheme. I joined it. They still got paid. So 2.5 years I did it. So I did gynae, psychiatry, medicine, and 2 stints in general practice. And by then I'm fully rounded English doctor, you know. But I still have the wisdom of the East. I still used yoga and meditation for my own personal stuff because it's quite stressful being a doctor anywhere. And I had very huge love and support in the vocational training scheme. In fact, but I'm blunt and rude, you know, that's why I get in anywhere. I was in Freeman. I went downstairs and I said, I hear you're having a vocational training scheme. She said, Pet, I remember exactly. Tomorrow is the last day and you need it all typed up and everything. I said, okay. I went home and typed it all out, give it in half an hour. She was shocked. She said, how did you get this typed? I said, I got a typewriter. She said, how? I said, I brought a typewriter from India. I said, they have typewriters in India, you know. You know, people ask daft questions, but I answer them quite brutally and right into their face. I got an interview and Dr. Colin Leon says, this job, I said, yeah, I know my friend David May has got it. So I'm telling him it's all nepotism, right to his face. But can I come for the next one? He said, yes. I said, I don't need it in writing. Shall I not apply for jobs? He said, just go and do 6 months anywhere. The next job is yours. Yeah. Because he could see a bright spark in me. He could see someone's guts and courage. Yeah. And I was with a tough teacher called Manny Silver in Heaton, a Jewish guy. Yeah. A very tough guy. But we clicked it off because I worked hard and tidied the notes and did everything. So I, despite being a doctor, I kept being myself. And that's a very hard task, you know. It's so easy because our name starts with doctor. Yeah. And God made that you become a Labour Party, Conservative Party, whichever party, Conservative Party MP for Central. But your name won't begin Paul. It won't say politician. It won't say cons. Yeah. But with us, it's Dr. Anand. Straight away you're labelled. I only have one name anyway.
And you're a proper doctor as well. My brother's a doctor, but he's a mathematician. So
No.
I'd rather go to you when he has a when I got a dodgy leg.
But I wasn't a proper doctor in the sense that I didn't encourage illness. Proper doctors love illness. I hate illness. I encourage people to go away from me by giving them techniques to stay away. Most doctors are like quick fit. They want your tires to puncture. Otherwise, if you're not ill, they won't make money. I'm the opposite. I like helping people keep away from doctors, like by doing meditation, yoga.
Well, people used to look out for children in the streets. I mean,
Yes.
in the past, and I remember when I was growing up in Heaton, I used to play out all the time. That's what we used to do in the evenings, was running around the block, and it was a safe environment. And I think it's a
So
shame that
what's
children...
gone so potty in the world? I mean, why are we so scared?
Well, I guess we're more aware of things going wrong now. And if you think, obviously, it's coming out now, a lot of bad things did happen.
Jimmy Savile.
That sort of stuff, yeah. And it was, I mean, the scale of a lot of the things that are coming out now, coming out from the woodwork.
But do you not think that things have been bad for a long time? It's just being found out now. What's your belief?
I will agree with you on that. I think we're much more aware now of things that are going wrong in the world. And in the past, you just knew what was going on in your family and your immediate surroundings. And sometimes didn't even know what was going on because there's a lot of shame attached to abuse and so forth.
Well, my friend Rob, who may be listening, came on a show. I had done a show on a chap called Amir Khan in India. He did a lot of shows about pornography, women, abuse of women, all the stuff that nobody wants to talk about, rapes, pedophilia, and so on. Live shows, televised, real people coming and saying, I was raped, I was not murdered, I was raped and I was beaten up by my husband, and that kind of show. And Rob Pugel, who's a regular presenter here, he's probably in London with his grandchild and his wife and his daughter. He's not here. But he phoned the show and said, I was regularly abused by a photographer because my parents were ignorant, and this white photographer came in and they know nothing about English, and they thought, oh, white guy coming, must be nice. And he used to take us out for photography, and regularly he used to sodomize them. And he said this on air. And I think it's good to mention that. And there's so many listeners who know what I'm talking about, but won't say it. But he said it. And to me, he's a great guy who has the guts to say this. And I think the same thing's happening with rape in India. Women have been, over the years, turned into kind of objectified. And the films encourage that behavior. And Delhi is a funny mix of total village urchins whose wives may be in burqas, or at least as a Hindu with the heads covered with gungat. You know, they cover their heads and they are so careful, and women sit together and men sit together. They come to Delhi and see a young girl in jeans, and they find it impossible to partake of that view, and they have to misbehave and so on. But it's good to bring it out, because then it'll finish if you don't accept a problem.
Yeah. For those people who do that to children, young people, I mean, there should be nowhere for them to hide. I mean,
Yes.
I think those stories should be out in the open.
Yes.
And it's,
now, whether it's the sanctuary thing in Newcastle, or it's Rotherham, or it's India, it just doesn't matter. I have never found Britain difficult. In fact, I find it the easiest country in the world, because you got full freedom of speech. I know a lot of us abuse it, particularly us, meaning the diaspora. We haven't tried hard enough. And of course, England is stupid enough to allow us to behave badly by having translation and interpreters. All that rubbish must stop, you know. I'm saying I'm not the EDL, I'm not the Conservative Party, but I think it's total nonsense. It's abusing me as an Asian to say I can't speak English.
I think people should be able to learn the language of the community in which they and where they live, and to be able to communicate with
if I
their
went to
neighbors.
China, I'd be fluent in Chinese within 6 months. Otherwise, I'd leave China.
Because you need to, I mean, I don't understand why you would want to live in a country and not be able to communicate with the people around you. You must feel very isolated.
The money is okay here. So let's take the British money, but remain in my own little village. That's the attitude. And that's wrong. There's a Hindi word called namak haram, which means haram is a very bad word to Muslims and Urdu speakers. So you eat someone's salt and then abuse them. So all of us who are sitting in this country, abusing this country, of course there's faults here. But just don't see the fault in the British people. See the faults in yourselves. There is no racism here compared to what goes on in India, Pakistan and Bangladesh. None whatsoever. And we talk about it all the time. We talk about it. No one's called me Paki ever. I'm from India as it happens. No one's called me Paki. There's a boy of 7 in my 37 years in Britain. One boy of 7 at Kenton School I was going, and he called me Paki. I wanted my window down. I said, do you want a smack or what? And he ran away. But that's what his parents would say in foreign, my patch, where I was a doctor. And I was
Yeah.
going to his school probably to do some music. Nobody's called me Paki. Nobody's beaten me up. Nobody's spat on me. But the people here are very peaceful. I've got lots of Muslim friends. I'm a member of the Pakistani Cultural Society. I've never met racism there. And we are two warring countries who want to kill each other. I don't meet it there. I've just been to, as I was telling you, Babar's shop. Not a barber shop for shaving. His name is Babar. He runs the ladies' garments. He tailors ladies' garments. In fact, the girl who came in, she also helps with tailoring ladies' garments. I'm his best friend. He's on next Saturday. Yes, next Saturday, the 2nd, is Babar. Where is racism? If I can't be racist to a Muslim from Pakistan, who can I be racist to?
Well, I hope you wouldn't be. I hope you wouldn't be.
No, if I can't be racist to a sworn enemy of India and vice versa, how can I be racist to you? And if I don't expect racism from you, people have their own hang-ups. You may not want your sister to marry me, not because I'm brown or a Hindu or a Muslim. It's because I'm an idiot. It's not racism always. But people use that label to hide behind. It's a very convenient label.
I think people. I mean, I know when I go abroad and I'm the only white person on the bus, or even when I go to North America quite a lot because I've got family over there, and I'm very careful. I notice myself when I'm on public transport that I deliberately don't say anything because I don't want to come across as different.
Because you are scared of racism.
Not scared of racism. It's because it's I think it's emotionally draining being different. I think that's something which
like the idiot abroad.
Well, you feel different and you feel like you stand out, and carrying that around with you all the time is a really exhausting thing.
But
so
how long does it take you to get rid of that carry around your own fears of being different along?
Well, if
you were dropped in Delhi, right? I drop you in the middle of Delhi. Let's drop you in a less educated part in Chandni Chowk, where there's a lot of poorer people.
Yeah.
And you're shooting a movie. You're the white villain in the Hindi movie. All villains in India are white. Okay. So how long would it take you to get accustomed? You'll say Shukriya to a Muslim with a beard. You'll say Namaste to a fellow or Sat Sri Akal to the Sikh. You learn all these little things. Okay.
Yeah.
6 months.
Well, it depends on work, doesn't it?
No, but you'll become but you'll become brown with the sunshine. You'll start wearing something like a kadai in your hand or little emblems of those. But if you put on a cross on your chest and dress in a 3-piece suit and talk proper English, then you're choosing to be different, isn't it? So real people get on, I mean, all my friends here are Pakistanis. What's the difference? None. If I'm not looking for it. If I go looking for faults in people, I can't stand them. No, I can stand them.
I've got a lot of friends from different religions, and particularly Christians who've got very strong views.
And you get on with them as well?
I get on well with them. I mean, and we got one of them spoke to me about it, and it's had a really interesting phrase, which is your major on the major and your minor on the minor.
What does that mean? Anything to do with John Major?
No, nothing to do with John Major. No, it's that if you want to, everyone has different value systems. Everyone has different perspectives, backgrounds, and you can always find something that's different with someone else.
That's easy to do.
And you will find often it's people who are the most similar who will try to pick holes and make the biggest deal about their differences. I mean, you saw that recently with the Scottish referendum, where a lot of Scots who very incredibly culturally very similar to England, and Glasgow has much more in common with Newcastle than it does with a rural community or the Highlands. But they find those marginal differences and they try to obsess by them.
Obsessed by the minor differences.
So you need to major on the major, which is that what are the fundamental core values that you have? And most people, it's about being self-reliant, independent. It's about being a moral human being that wants to do well by each other, their neighbours. So
what is your spiritual content?
What is my spiritual content?
That is the. I mean, I'm saying that is the question. That's a question I'm asking. Is if your spiritual content, whether you're Muslim or Hindu or Sikh, or if your spiritual content is human, if your spiritual content is non-violence, if your spiritual content is compassion and spiritual growth of every human, where is the issue? I mean, in this song. It's an Urdu song. So it will have a lot of Islamic words. Rehnuma. But the style of bhajan is totally Hindu. It's just a prayer. Now, is it Muslim? Is it Hindu? Is it both? Is it neither?
Yeah.
So, Nusrat Fateh Ali, right? He came to this country. He sang in Punjabi and Urdu and Farsi and all that. And he's singing words. Why did people like him? They never the English people understood a word. It is about values and not about rules. And this is where I think people fall. They think that their rule is the best rule. Keep your rules to yourself. Let me see your values. Values shine out. Rules are dominated upon, isn't it? Thou shalt not, thou shalt not. Hey man, I know all that. And to be followed.
And we have a lot of laws in this country as well. It's we're very one of the things I know.
You have to have laws. You can't help,
Yeah, and it's one of the things you notice most about when you go abroad is you come back to Britain and how tightly regulated Britain is. You get a much sense of when I went to Ukraine, I felt a much greater sense of freedom. But the holes in the road weren't being filled in. And
do you ride a motorbike?
I don't ride a motorbike.
Okay.
No, I tend to walk to work. That's why I was interested in your mate who was doing the fitness stuff. Because when I come to work at the Beacon Centre, I'll walk over from Heaton. So it's quite a journey.
You walked from Heaton to
I
here?
did not today, no. But when I'm commuting in Newcastle, I'll walk over. So
that's why you're so slim and healthy. Okay. So rules are what is imposed on man because we are little kids. We like breaking them. Rules are there to be broken. The 10 commandments are there.
Some, yes. I mean, some rules are more important than others. I think.
No, but they come from a value. The reason I drive on the left side of the road is, one, I value other people's and my lives, and our cars don't get scratched. But the value is that. The rule is in Britain left side. In America, the rule is right side. Which side is right?
I think you want over the longer term people to
actually
be able to speak the language
yes.
of their neighbours and people
and integrate.
And to integrate. And then people miss out on things. I mean, that's the most important thing in terms of friendships, opportunities,
growth
jobs.
of both cultures.
Yes. And I think it's a great shame that people aren't able to learn the language. I know, for example, if I moved to France or to Spain, and lots of people who were born in Britain who go to those countries are sometimes the worst at actually learning the language where they live. But I would certainly, if I was living in Spain, want to learn Spanish and be able to have Spanish friends and to try and get a job over there. So I think it's right to expect that people should be able to do that.
And I think you should be encouraged to do that, and you should be discouraged to constantly use your own language in public and expect everyone to understand. We are here, this culture is, how old is British culture?
Well, okay. I guess we first started settling it after the Ice Age, 10,000 years ago. So
it has grown organically, and it has seen the Druids, it has seen the Celts, it has seen the Scandinavians coming in, it has seen Anglos and Saxons and Romans, and it's formed a culture. And Newcastle has its own culture.
And it's also, it's taken culture from across the world. I mean, one of the things that really struck me, I read a history of Tyneside, and obviously a lot of the development around this part of the world was done by the Romans.
Yes.
And the Roman
What did the Romans do for us?
Yeah, what did the Romans do for us? They gave us Hadrian's Wall, kind of
wasn't there a series like
codes,
that?
Yeah, a lot of language.
Monty Python and that one. Yes.
And a lot of the legionaries were from other parts of the Roman Empire. So the first boats that went up the Tyne carrying grain were being rowed by Iraqis. So I think that's something that shows that.
And the Yemenis in South Shields.
In South Shields, so there's a long tradition there of people coming from the rest of the world to the northeast, and I think that's something that we should definitely be celebrating. And
so we are now going to have a break, but really, how do we celebrate multiculturalism? That will be a good, interesting topic.
It's Red Hot Radio. Spice FM 98.8 FM.
Hi, welcome back. We were talking, and by the way, that tune is from Teen Tal, a movie that was made in Tyneside by a Tynesider from Heaton Manor. So that's something I'm plugging all the time because I'm so proud to know this guy who's done the movie. Yeah.
As I said, major on the major and minor on the minor. You find the things that the core values that you have and the core values that you have in common with other people, which are the values of community, peace, of independence, of self-reliance, and
people expressing themselves,
self-expression, identity, and
arts, growth.
Yeah, things that
being valued in society, being rich.
Find things that connect with people in a positive way, rather than trying to find the differences within that person that are going to wind you up. Because I know there's lots of my friends who have different values that I will find really difficult to accept. But you talk about other things,
I'd
or,
love to- I'd
or
love
you
to-
argue with them, and you kind
I
of
love
like
your
enjoy the
friends. I would
argument.
love your friends on this show. It doesn't have
Some
to
of them
be
you would, some of them you wouldn't. I think it's,
even the ones
yeah.
I would love, the ones I wouldn't,
Yeah.
because you see, I believe.
I mean, I know from within my family, my grandfather was a priest. He was a vicar of Church of England. And
Okay.
I think he was quite a spiritual man, actually.
Now that is the difference.
But he made
so
my-
though a vicar, he also had high spiritual values.
He did, but he also, thinking back about with his relationship with my dad, and he had lots of rules as well in terms of them having to go to church when my dad didn't want to. So my dad was really put off religion because of that, because he didn't.
That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't his religion. He didn't kind of internalize it. It was something that he had to fight against. So I think it's people need to find their own place and their own. My dad, my dad's a Leeds fan, so I had to follow. So I had to follow Leeds. I had a choice of following
your
his
dad
politics or his
your
football
dad
team.
is quite. But where is he based? York.
He lives in Newcastle, and I mean I grew up in Newcastle, and
So how's that? The Leeds fan one?
he lives in Newcastle now, but he grew up in Yorkshire, so I had a choice of either following his politics or following his football. So I went with his football.
So he's changed his faith and even his football, which is even worse.
I would say that when Newcastle and Leeds are in different leagues, it's a lot easier because I can support both teams, so that's fine.
You are a politician.
Yeah, I always like to see Newcastle do well, but I also like to be a little bit different. I mean, that's what you're saying about identity before, but I think it's okay to want to be a bit different. You don't always have to go with the crowd. It's about
But how many identities do we have?
well, loads. I mean, it's
Exactly.
multi-layered, and
Yes. And if you don't adjust your identity, you only make, they say crows make friends with crows.
yeah,
If you're always black and small like a crow, you'll only mix with crows. But you can be a peacock sometimes.
yeah.
But if you're among crows and act like a peacock, they get jealous.
Mm.
And if you're a crow and you're sitting among peacocks, they'll shun you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite a subtle cultural shift, whether it's emotional, social, religious, country of origin.
I think
And
that's
you have to be very clever to get on with all sorts, don't you?
yeah, and I think that's why actually work's really important. If you think about jobs, and where I used to work at the Sustainable Development Commission, they did a lot of research and they advocated a lot just around how people should work less hours, so we spend less money on damaging products and so forth. And I thought, well, actually, would the world be a better place if we spent less time at work? Well, for some people, yes, but for a lot of us, actually, work is where you actually meet different people that you wouldn't usually have anything to do with, and
But
it's so important.
Why do people go to work? It's not just for the money.
It's about the community, and that's why I'm really passionate about getting more people back into work as well. Because
Yes.
I mean, I've spent time being unemployed, and that was like a truly awful experience.
How long was that?
It ended up being about 6 months in total, and I did some.
6 months is a long
Yeah.
stint. It's like 6 months in prison, isn't it?
Well, yeah, no, I felt like that, and I did a job which I hated doing briefly during that period.
That was doing.
Charity fundraising, so it was.
Oh, it's hard.
It's hard work. I mean, I understand that it's important that charities get the money, but I tell you, calling up old grannies asking them to increase their subscription to the Red Cross, I got sacked from it because I wasn't very good.
Good.
The old-
I love you.
Seriously, I got off the phone once, and one of the supervisors came over and said, "Simon, you just let that old granny just walk all over you there. You got proper handbagged." And I said, "Well, she didn't want to give us any
No,
money."
but the old lady felt better for it. You gave her a raison d'etre. You made her a phone call. She walked all over you. Great.
I hope so. I hope she felt better. But the charity, I mean, it wasn't the charity's fault. It was the company they got to do it for them.
Yeah, but tell about charity. I mean, why has charity become another corporation?
Well, I guess you want to have a standard service across the country, and so you need to.
But charity should be small and personal, you know.
Well, I like to think you should do both. I mean, I like the National Trust. I think it does an important job preserving properties for everyone to be able to benefit from.
But that's a different kind of charity. It's not about small causes. It's about the country.
Mm.
No, that National Trust happens to be a charity.
Yeah.
I mean, small charities should be small charities. I mean, I have a thing about Oxfam.
Yeah.
In the morning, I switch on the radio. I'm watching something in Hindi, a romantic thing. In comes this child who's starving. It hurts. I don't want to see Ebola all the time. And also, I'm watching a thing in Hindi.
Yeah.
Okay, it's flowing. And suddenly an Englishman in an Irish accent says, Ebola is terrible, blah, 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 blah. I hate it, I switch off the telly. I can't stand it,
Well,
I'm in a different place, I'm sitting having champagne with my, say, girlfriend and listening to Tchaikovsky. And in walks someone with a begging bowl. It's very out of context.
I guess in their defense, there's people in the world that need our support.
Or then translate it.
And either government does it and they take it from your taxes, or people pay for it through charities. I mean, and then
No,
you've
but
got a choice.
I would rather work actively for a charity, like the charity you espouse. I'm happy to bring you on radio and so on. But I don't want to hear about it all the time, you know. You see, I believe there's too much communication these days imposed on us.
Well, we're much more aware of the suffering around us now, which we weren't in the past. I mean, I'm an optimist. I think that today is probably the best time to be alive ever. I mean, if you had no choice about
Wonderful.
what gender you are, what your sexuality is, what religion you are, what race you are,
And you're not beaten, you're not burnt at the stakes.
You would choose to be born now. I mean, that's regardless across the world. I mean, human beings have lived in horrible circumstance since the dawn of time, and I think it's only now that we're coming to realize how much suffering there is.
So stuff like ISIS has been happening all the time, except now we are seeing it
in a subtle
form.
During the Reformation in Europe, we saw similar stuff happening here. That's why
the burning at the stakes, of which is
burning at stakes. In Germany, they lost around about 40% of the population from religious wars. People going backwards and forwards, and Catholics killing Protestants. And a lot of the time, religion is used as an excuse. It tends to be people who want to kind of have that bloodlust, who want to murder, they want to kill, and they use it as an excuse.
And they get into a religion because then they might have a holy war. So it's the same violence, but they are in suits and they're in helicopters, and Clint Eastwood directed it, so it can't be terrorism, can it?
Well, I would. So armies are more disciplined. Armies are disciplined, and they train people to be killers, and that's why they have to train people, because the human instinct is not to commit murder. So that's why they have to do it. And we need to have an army to protect ourselves against.
The movie was very touching because he just shut himself down. And on the one hand, he's chatting with his wife who's pregnant. On the other hand, he's shooting some Arabs who are doing their job for their country, for their religion. So, and it's their country. So I get quite mixed messages.
Education was really important. And I mean, I went to a state school, like primary school and secondary school. And it was about taking responsibility for my own life and being able to
not hand everything to the state.
Yeah, I mean, the government, you need to have government to be able to help people who are vulnerable. And there's been times in my life when I said I was out of work where the government had to help me. So I don't think you're not on your own in this.
So you're not alone, and you're not going to be crushed and killed and died.
Absolutely. But you need to also be able to take some responsibility for what happens in your life. And some things will go well, some things will go badly, but the one thing you can control is the way that you act. And that's why I felt that those were the kind of core conservative values as well. And I think too often
your own house, education, growth
was personal responsibility.
But enough of a net, net to save you.
People.
So you don't fall through.
Yeah.
But do you think in our society the nets become so fine that a lot of people have become lazy and say, "Oh, the benefit system will look after me"?
Do you know what? I think things have actually changed quite a lot over the last few years. I know when I was signing on, I went down the job centre.
How long ago was that?
It was about 4 years ago now.
Okay.
And signing on is not actually that easy. You have to phone up to book an appointment, and then you go down, and then you have to fill forms in, and then you have to go back every 2 weeks at a specific time saying what jobs you've done, and if you haven't done them, then you don't get your benefits for 2 weeks.
So you have to prove to be worthy. So the benefit is a benefit of trying to get into jobs.
Yeah. So you're always working. So if you're able to work, you're either working in a job or you're working to find a job. That's the way that it works.
So the aim is, the target is, the goal is the job.
Yeah, the goal is everyone, and conservatives believe passionately that everyone should have a job. That's why we believe in full employment.
It's a role in life.
Yeah, it gives you a purpose. It gives you a sense of security.
It gives you conversation. It gives you people. It gives you growth. You'll meet nice people. You might even get married or something.
Networks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one of the great kind of, I would say, crimes. It sounds very extreme, but one of the things that was the real sadness and the great tragedies of the 2000s was that there was about 1 million people, like thousands of people in the Northeast who were on incapacity benefit, and they hadn't seen a GP, and they hadn't seen the job centre for over 10 years. That's thousands of people.
So it's a joblessness for life.
It was a job,
or decade at least.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, that's just a complete waste of a human being's life and talent. And that money as well could have been spent to investment in infrastructure to get people into work.
You don't get angry with unemployed people. You feel sad that they've not been given a purpose, a role, a social contact, and so on, and a chance to grow as a person.
Hey man, I've had 2 periods of unemployment. Those are the worst experiences of my life ever.
Yes, so
and
it's no fun.
I would not want to wish it on my worst enemy.
And yet, as a GP, can I tell you, so many people tell me I'm better off unemployed.
Well,
I'm telling you, real people. I'm not talking political. I'm talking in my job. And I said, come on, man. You don't have a girlfriend. You don't have a hobby. You don't have a job. What are you alive for?
Well, people get themselves in an absolute state, don't they?
Yes.
And then they get, and this one of the really sad things we're seeing at the moment is that we're having to see some really painful changes in terms of people now being forced to look for work. And that could have happened over a much longer period of time, be much more gradual. And now people who have been out of work for a long time, it's really unnerving for them to have to suddenly find a job and like be told that they're going to have to look for it. And it's, for me, I feel really angry that was not done sooner. Why were they left to get into that state?
Why do they wait for them to get so habituated, addicted to unemployment?
Exactly, yeah. And I know how hard it was for me when I was out of work, and you feel really insecure in that.
Yes, you feel worthless.
You feel worthless, and I've seen it with people being sanctioned as well, that it's really difficult. But you know that if you do what the office tell you to do, then you should get your benefits. So you should be able to survive. It's a bit like when you're working in a job.
What do people do once they're sanctioned?
Well, I mean, I was lucky in the sense of I had some savings, and I've got a really great family who are able to look out for me, and lots of friends as well.
So, as a conservative, you believe in family supporting you?
Yeah, and friendship,
but what's wrong with that?
and community.
And friends, yes, what the hell. And the more you support, allegedly, the more you cripple somebody with excessive help. Or over-caring, it's called. And I'm talking psychologically.
Yeah.
If I was looked after and given a nice car, I'd get bored, I'd die.
Yeah.
I've got my pension. I'm looking. Why am I here? I don't get paid.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody's given me £100 to go and get 4 headphones. Why am I bothered? Because I enjoy communicating, and I realize I'm a human being. I meet different people, Muslims, Hindus, occasional white people like you as well. and it makes me understand and grow as a person.
Yeah.
It makes me less afraid of someone who's a conservative or a Labour or something. I'd love the EDL to come here. EDL, if you're listening, if you ever listen, this is in English, so you should understand what I'm saying. It's not in Urdu or Punjabi or in Hindi. So I like meeting people. I mean, I'd like to interview Jimmy Savile, saying, what did you do this for? Why have you done this? What's the matter with you? So no human is untouchable. I don't believe in, and though I'm from India, I don't believe in untouchability. Just sit and talk and tell me, what is it you made? Okay. So we quite agree in that matter that employment should be your right.
Well, we need to create an economy where there's work opportunities for everyone. I mean, that's fundamentally what the Conservative Party is about full employment, but creating sustainable jobs for people as well. I think that's important in terms of long-term investment in the Northeast. And we're starting to see that now that we're investing in the city centre with a new aging well centre. So, I mean, the region's on the up.
The science city, the massive science city, it's almost fully occupied now. I mean, the buildings are not up, but when you go to the core building, there's one building.
Yeah.
And the whole wall is lost. The only thing we have lost is that statue of the footballer.
Yeah.
Where the hell has he gone?
I don't know, but you know what? We need to have a statue of Bobby Robson. I think he's one of my heroes.
But that footballer could be. I mean, he's an icon. I don't know whose statue it was. The fellow with the kick and that very balanced statue. I loved it. It wasn't.
Football went missing, didn't it? Is it Jackie Milburn?
Was it?
No. I'm offending your listeners now by getting the name wrong.
I offended you by having no interest in football. Yeah. No, but I like that statue. It showed an icon of somebody.
Yeah.
But more seriously, that core building is there, and every single plot has been taken virtually.
Yeah.
So it's good. There's a lot of froth in Newcastle. Instead of brew ale, you've got science lab. What a change.
I think there's a lot of hope now, and you see across the country, people are talking differently about the Northeast. Whenever you hear, and it's right
instead of dumbing it down all the time.
It's right that we should always be mindful of the welfare system is working for people and that they're not being unfairly sanctioned, that if they're looking for work, that they should be treated fairly.
Yes.
But I think there's also a really good story to tell about how the Northeast is now an exporter. It's the only part of the country which has actually got a trade surplus, which means that we export more products than we import. So I think there's a case that the rest of the country should be a lot more like the Northeast. We should be celebrating that.
So we have turned into an icon of growth.
We're turning into the China of the Northeast, China of the UK. That's a
So we have turned into China of the UK. So it's made in the Northeast. Yes.
made in
yes.
the Northeast. Absolutely, yeah. Why not? And not just like manufacturing. A lot of the IT's doing really
Yes,
well.
yes.
People are now wanting to come and move to the Northeast and to
So
Newcastle.
the handicap image is changing.
Yeah, I think people have got a different perception. I think people will think about Newcastle as being a really cool city where
It
they
is
can
very
come,
cool. Yeah.
have a really well
It's even
paid job.
cold, man. Never mind cool.
Why am I- Where you can have a fantastic time and there's
It is.
absolutely
I
great
mean, you
people
know,
here.
as medical students, I've taught medical students about 14, 15 years, quite intimately. I had to have 6 weeks in my house training them, then they would go to therapists and so on. But anyway, most of them found girlfriends or boyfriends here
Yeah,
and settled down here. They might have come from Oxford or Scotland or Sheffield, but they all want to settle here. Nobody wants to go back.
yeah,
There's something very wonderful about the Northeast and Newcastle in particular. Because Newcastle is a separate culture. It's far away from Cumbria. It's far
Yeah.
away from Scotland. It's far away from the rest of England. It's almost like Berwick-upon-Tweed, but not that far out.
Well, it's-
Isn't it? It has its own identity.
What do you think about Bobby Robson and Alan
Yes,
Shearer?
yes.
Two local lads who were world beaters. They went off and they won like trophies and cups
Yes,
and
yes.
as managers and
But do you
players.
think
But they came back
adversity-
to the Northeast
But do you
because
think
they,
the adversity made them like that?
well, I mean, Alan Shearer was originally turned down by Newcastle, so presumably that would have been a bit
Guess
of
who
a,
do you think I'm thinking of? I have also lived in Wallsend. And guess who's coming on radio next Thursday?
I don't know who.
Alan Robson.
Alan Robson, oh wow.
The Alan Robson.
The Alan Robson.
The
That's going
Metro
to be
Radio, the
Yeah.
Night Owls guy.
yeah,
So he's coming between 1 and 2.
yeah.
I'll be sitting in wheelchair Steve for the show. And I hope that he can stay long enough to sit in the bistro signing some autographs. Because he is quite a thing, you know. And I really hope and pray that they give him knighthood or something at least. Or lordship. I mean, he's quite a canny lad, you know. I met him. I've been on his show once, 20 minutes. You know, there are celebrities here. There are big celebrities here
Yeah.
doing big stuff here. We just have to be proud of them instead of pulling them down. And I think we should be celebrating that we live in the Northeast. You know, even the weather is not as bad as the South, you know. We don't get so many hurricanes.
We get a lot less rain than most parts of the country and
So we are, Manchester is all
crisp
red.
skies.
Yes. We
and
are really
beautiful fresh air. and-
Yes.
So I mean, growing up, one of the things I loved most was my dad used to take me out to Northumberland up the coast, and it's a
Where?
really magical place.
Bamborough,
Banbury, yeah. Used to go out to the Farne Islands, Warkworth.
Farn. Yes, I've been on the Farn.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Any of your listeners?
But even
who
St.
haven't been-
Mary's Lighthouse here.
St. Mary's Lighthouse.
I've
Yeah,
got friends there
yeah,
on the lighthouse,
yeah.
next to the lighthouse. And the council wanted to buy their property, they won't sell. And I said, I'll have to have them on air sometime.
Yeah.
It's nice to go to these causeways, and you remind me of the time when my kids are older than you, by the way. You know, so when I used to take them to Holy Island and they used to
Yeah.
run up and down, it is and go to the beach and have a bit.
It's a really spiritual place, isn't it?
Yes,
And
Isn't that where first Christianity came? Is that correct?
well, it was when the Angles first settled, so they came
Angles.
over. They came over from northern Germany. So it was a.
Okay.
That's why Britain's always in the northeast has always had waves of.
So this
of people coming in.
Anglo-Saxon, the Angles are from there. So that's the angle of the Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah. So I think my understanding of
right,
this,
right.
and
So we are half German and half French.
well, the
Saxons are-
Saxons came from a different part of Germany.
Oh,
So
I
they're
see.
all on the northern coast of Germany, and the Saxons.
So what
settled
did
in
they
the
come
south.
for? Like, did they come for some tea?
I think. Do you know what? I think they probably came for a bit of rape and pillage. I think they probably first came over,
Oh,
probably not for the best reasons, but
okay.
I think they settled, and there was different types of
So
Christianity.
the Romans came for the same reasons.
Oh, Romans come there, but fortunately we're more civilized now. I think people kind of don't tend to go around doing.
Well, I
those
didn't
kind of
come for the same. I just came for the cash. Like,
things. I came over for the cash.
I am from India. Like,
Yeah.
when we're Indians and Pakistanis, it's cash.
Yeah.
Buy one, get one free. Like,
Yeah,
it's just that. No, I mean, if you don't have trade and exchange, you don't grow.
yeah,
You become incestuous, and I mean literally and metaphorically and symbolically as well. In Hindus, that's the only thing I know better than other religions. I don't know enough, but I know a lot. You cannot marry someone who's not 8 generations removed from you.
yeah,
So my grandfathers, brothers, grandson's daughter can marry me. So that is to increase the pool.
yeah.
and that's why being incestuous is wrong in every religion. For that reason, that you don't have diseases and so on, because the genetic bad genes grow if you marry your own cousin's sister. New fresh blood. And I have noticed that children born from different faiths, different cultures actually, faith doesn't make a difference to your gene, but different countries of origin produce very bright children. Very, very, very bright. So if anyone's listening there, even if you marry in your same religion, okay, I'll forgive you for that, but marry from a different country. Because you'll marry someone completely outwith of the genetic pool, and you'll produce a genius of a child. I've seen so many examples, so many. So it's great that we are in Britain and we are mixing cultures. I mean, look at the language pool in Britain. How many words? They might have conquered India, but how many words? Jungle, Pandit, Randy, Bungalow. These are from India easily. And umbrella and all that from, I think, Italians or Portuguese.
I mean, the English language just shows, doesn't it? It's a kind of a symbolizes what this country's about, really, isn't it?
Well,
how it's got core values and a way of working, but we're able to kind of get different, assimilate different elements from across the world. We try to get the best from the world. And
well, in a funny way, India is quite similar. The Hindustani, what we Hindus call Hindi and Muslims call Urdu. It's the same language, slightly different inflections and slightly different pronunciation. But it's also a collection of Sanskrit, Urdu, Arabic, Farsi. And it was a language for the garrisons in Delhi.
Yeah.
And then slowly it's pervaded all over India. And just like the world language is English, and India also English is extremely popular. It's Hindi in India and Urdu in Pakistan. But I can talk to Pakistanis only because it's the same language. How can I not talk to them? But I would find, I know a little bit of Bengali as well. But how can a Pakistani and a Bengali speak? They speak completely different tongues.
Yeah.
So the Pakistanis are closer to most of India except East Pakistan. I mean, this is the oddity of that division, you know. The whole thing is crazy, you know, that partition.
That's why I voted, well, I did some campaigning in the Scottish referendum because I know it's so important that when you have marginal differences where people are different, but you have so much more in common, you need to make sure that people stay together. Because
from India, can you explain to an Indian what is the difference between a Scotsman and an Englishman?
Well, they've got some
But then how can you see the difference between Indian and a Pakistani? If both were Muslims, they look identical. But if you're a doctor in Karachi and a doctor in Delhi, there is no difference. You speak the same language, you have the same problems, you have the same movies, you eat the same food, you have the same everything.
Well, lots of people in Scotland are originally from England and vice versa. I mean, it's all very silly. I mean, my grand's from Scotland, and I feel Scotland's part of my home. It's got a slightly different legal tradition, and it had a different government for a bit. But I mean, like this part of when we talked about the Anglo-Saxons, when they first were in England, they ruled all the way up to southern Scotland. So southern Scotland was part of a kingdom that.
But isn't Berwick still belonging to Russia?
They're still at war with Russia, I think. They never made their peace. They never made their peace. So
okay,
I think they have officially made their peace now. But there was they were put on the original declaration of war, but they were removed when it came to declaring peace. So poor Berwick.
Come in, Amit. Hi, Amit. Hi. How are you going to help us do the show with? This is Simon Kitchen.
Hello.
He doesn't make kitchens. He's the Conservative candidate he's our candidate from the Conservative Party. He's from Kenton. I'm from Gosford. We are both under Your Majesty.
Hello. You can both. You're both my potential constituents. So it'll have to be really nice, won't I? So.
And I'm asking. I mean, this will go on YouTube, but I want to invite all the. And you are very good at these kind of things. Is invite all the other potential candidates. I mean, Chi Onwurah would definitely run. So that So how do we invite them?
We'll organise
Please do.
a question time upstairs, something similar to what we did.
But that's a big show. But here on the more humble level, each one should have a level playing field. You know how level I am. I'm so balanced and equitable. And what are we doing for Alan Robson? I want a signature thing after that. He's coming. So so you can help us. So the show has now finished. I was running Teen Tal music in the background, and I want to prepare for the next lady who needs the studio from 2. So it's been fun having you, but why not have you again on another show?
Yeah.
On the very important topic of dementia.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. And if any of your listeners have any questions about the election, they'll probably, as it comes up, then I'm happy to talk to them as well. So that'd be.
So Simon Kitchen, thank you for being so open-hearted and so much fun and parrying questions at me and with me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doc. Real pleasure.
From Heaton Manor,
Yeah,
then I have got you boxed.
Yeah.
I can't see the full spectrum of you
yeah.
because I've clipped your wings in my eyes and I've boxed you in.
Mm.
And I think that's not okay. Tell us about yourself. I'll shut up. I'll just listen to you.
Well, I grew up in Heaton. I went to Chillingham Road Primary School,
I've been there. I've done
Yeah.
music there.
which is a really good primary school. Hopefully, it'll
7th Street or something.
I think it's
6th, 7th.
9th Avenue around that area.
Why they got all these funny names like in America? 9th, 6th. Sounds like New York, you know.
Well, it was. I guess Newcastle for a bit was a bit of a boom time, wasn't it? So a lot of the streets went up really quickly, and they didn't have a lot of time to name the streets, did they? So they ran out of names, so they started just going for numbers, didn't they?
Okay, they didn't have Bobby Robson, Bobby Thompson, those kind of names coming up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay.
So they got a bit lazy, presumably. So so I grew up in Heaton on Rothbury Terrace, and then went to Heaton Manor School. Got a really close connection with the West End of Newcastle, though. My dad. I know you said we're not from political dynasties, but I think it's really important thinking about your parents and what they've done and what you can learn from them. And my dad, he was originally from Yorkshire, but he moved up here after university to be involved in the regeneration of the West End of the city.
Right. So your dad is very involved, and that's what inspires you as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I would. He's a huge inspiration to me.
So how is he involved in the regeneration? In what? What's the names?
It was Mr. Bell was one, and I've completely forgotten the name of the second one.
The other one's history now.
Yeah, they're all old history. I don't remember the names, but I remember what they taught me and the values and so forth.
But you enjoyed history.
I loved it. Yeah.
Is that how you're directed towards the work that you want to do? Because you can see a continuity in human beings.
It gives you a sense of perspective. And
Yes.
I love stories, and
Yes.
I love the way that things change
Yes.
and how some things change as well. I
Yes.
remain the same, and a lot of common values kind of percolate throughout the generations and through time.
So you have seen things from a distance. Because that's what history teaches you, is perspective.
It gives you a sense of perspective, and also a lot of people's politics that are around nowadays tend to come from very narrow views of history and a very, very limited understanding. And if you have a broader view, then you can actually have a more kind of enlightened understanding of the way of the world.
I mean, the BBC is doing a Winston Churchill thing at the moment.
Yeah.
He was a great orator, but he wasn't a perfect human being.
No.
His wife wasn't always happy. He went through bouts of depression. He said things about India and about Jews and about all kinds of people that we don't want to repeat. But, you know, there is a sense in media to kill people for small mistakes. You know, I mean, if you're a great guy, but maybe once you slipped up, like you didn't pay your parking fine, that'll be flagged up, you know. And it's very unforgiving media. So today is Saraswati Puja. So I'll just let a little bit of that run since I do every religion. Perhaps I should do Hindu Dharma as well occasionally.
Shrim Hrim Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shrim Hrim Saraswatyai Namaha.
Simon Kitchen is 32. He met me through Amar Mirza. Tell me more.
Thanks, Doc. And I just want to say hi to all of your listeners out there who are tuning in. Thank you very much for coming in and listening to our show this morning. I met Doc through Amar, who's one of the kind of local business champions in the area.
And who does radio shows on Friday between, I think, 9 and 11. Yeah.
And the reason why I met him was because I'm actually running for Parliament for the Conservative Party in the West End of Newcastle. And I wanted to talk to some local business leaders to find out about what I could do to try and help them improve the local economy of the area.
So you're a kid, though. You're only 32.
I don't feel I'm a kid, 32.
You're less than half my age, like, you know.
Oh, man. Doc, I didn't know you were going to come out with these questions. Ambush me.
Yeah. No. I'm so happy to see someone young and dynamic who's not born in a dynastic family. I come from media is very unforgiving and very unkind.
I know, I completely agree. And I've certainly found by being involved in politics and I would probably say this for all the people who are running for the other parties as well,
Mm.
you feel incredibly exposed.
Yes.
Because, you could say anything, and a lot of times when you're talking amongst your friends, you will not talk about things in a very literal sense, and you'll be provocative and you'll say things to get a response.
I do a lot of provocative because I want people to come out with their true feelings. I do a lot of humor so people speak the truth. Otherwise, it's all pretendy, and boring and deathly and killing. So you say things to tease things out of people, isn't it?
Yes, but when you're involved in politics and you put yourself up for election, you can't. It's difficult. You can't.
You can't be yourself.
You are yourself.
Yes,
but
you have to.
You need to be so careful about what you say, because you need to say exactly what you mean, which is the most important
and it'll
thing.
be taken out of context.
Exactly.
And the words have no meaning out of context.
Yeah. So some people, for example, will, like a politician might repeat back a question that someone's asked them, and then people will tape down what they've actually said as being what is their actual quote, which is not actually what they believe. They've just been.
That's an answer to that question.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of editing, and I can take the same 2 hours and turn you into a monster or a god. You know, but selectively.
Yeah.
So, but we do that all the time in life. We selectively listen to people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I saw you as a white kind of Christian kind of guy from India, where until last year, until the 16th of May last year, when Narendra Modi came into politics, I don't talk about India all the time, but he was not from the Gandhi family or Nehru family or Brahmin or Italian even, and he's come into power. You're a bit like that, isn't it? You're not from a conservative, rich, posh, down south background.
No,
This is how people perceive you. I don't. I mean, this is how people would think, saying, what's he doing? He doesn't even have a Daimler car, doesn't have a double barrel name, hasn't gone to Eton.
I went to Heaton Manor. So I like to think it's a fantastic school as well.
So Heaton replaces Eton.
I hope so. Yeah, I think we need to have more Heaton Manor people in Parliament.
Just on that score, would you believe it? A Bengali Muslim boy, Bengali Muslim from Bangladesh, not Indian Bengali. He started dreaming of making a movie at the age of 6. At the age of 25, he went to London. He's a chemist. He worked in his father's regular Bengali takeaway in Chi Onwurah. He has produced a 2-hour, 5-minute movie, which I shall run in the background. So you should meet him, and he should meet you. He's Shakirul Alam. Shakirul. Shakirul Alam. He's very popular. So Heaton Manor, 3 cheers.
3 cheers to Heaton Manor.
Yes. So who were your best teachers? Who did you like the most?
I'd probably say my history teacher.